Why do you think people are not
Because
like...
they replaced the dwarves with CGI abominations. They are pretending like Rachel Zegler is the first of them all when she looks like Lord Farquaad in the film.
Horrible. It is the worst box office from a Disney live action remake that they've ever done.
They're petrified of some kind of backlash.
And you know the saying, go woke, get broke, and Disney's going to lose money on this movie. And I believe it only made less than $1 million in China, which is a huge indication that it will not do well globally.
The new Disney boss babe, who is Rachel Zegler, the inverse of happy. Now, I'm guessing that she's not married. I'm guessing that she doesn't have kids. The movie is a complete disaster, by the way.
Maybe think of an original idea. Maybe not destroy a classic from my childhood and put an actress in there that not only hates the plot and the storyline of the movie she's in, but also seemingly hates Snow White, the character herself.
Because you just can't close your mouth. You just can't be sane, even when you do open your mouth. I think this girl does not deserve a feature-length film, but rather, she deserves to be in a padded cell. I truly do believe that. There's something wrong with her. She's disturbed, she's unhappy, and she thinks it's about feminism and the patriarchy and about abortion, but the reality is she's just not stable.
The theaters are empty. Disney fans have decided to completely boycott Rachel Zegler's Snow White. What's the reason? See for yourself. It was the wokeness. Every woke movie they put out for 5 years has been a complete flop. Just for the record, Gal Gadot, or the horrible use of CGI dwarves instead of actors, is why you should boycott Snow White. We need to show Disney what happens when you go woke. Meh, I boycott Snow White because I hate live-action remakes. The acting looks terrible, and I'm not 8 years old, and I'd much rather be watching Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Boycott Disney woke Snow White. Children don't need to see this anymore, woke. Rachel Zegler's Snow White remake has been pure drama. Instead of a magical fairy tale, it's a total box office disaster, like a poisoned apple no one wants. With ticket sales crashing, this is Disney's biggest flop in years.
Snow White bombs, breaks records for the lowest live-action remake opening ever. Let me say that again, ever, okay? This is Snow White.
Guys, remember when Rachel Zegler acted like she had a magic wand that would make everyone rush to see Snow White's remake? She even talked about people waiting in line to see whatever she does, despite her flaws.
Who hates when I win. The winged victory came to the Louvre in pieces, and people still line up to see her. And I can only hope that despite my flaws, and despite my cracks and my breaks, and there are many of them, that at every premiere and everything I do, people will wait in line to see.
The reality? A total disaster. The only thing packed for this movie was the internet, ready to rip it apart. Theaters were empty, and ticket sales were embarrassing. Looks like she was the only one excited about the movie. The woke Snow White remake didn't just flop, it disappeared. For Rachel Zegler, once hailed as Hollywood's next big thing, it was a harsh reality check. The box office made it clear. No one showed up. On March 25th, 2025, Zegler took a few friends to a nearly empty theater. Thanks to Ilda's Instagram stories, we saw the awkward scene. Zegler cheering for herself, while the group tried to make the best of it. Snow White has pulled just $43 million domestically, way below expectations. Globally, it was just as bad. Hopes for a $100 million debut crumbled, with the film barely scraping $86.1 million after revised figures. The truth is that a female-led fantasy film could survive these numbers, but not in this case, because they need $500 million just to break even. From the very moment she landed the role, drama clung to her like a villain's curse. Fans were already raising eyebrows at Disney's choice to cast a Latina actress, but Zegler didn't just let the controversy simmer. She practically threw gasoline on the fire with her bold and unapologetic takes on the original film, sending the internet into a frenzy.
You said you were bringing a modern edge to it on stage. What do you mean by that?
I just mean that it's no longer 1937, and we absolutely wrote a Snow White that is
not going to be saved by the prince.
She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be, and the leader that her late father told her that she could be if she was fearless, fair, brave, and true. And so it's just a really incredible story for, I think, young people everywhere.
She didn't hold back. Calling the classic Snow White storyline weird, She even went as far as to label the prince a full-on stalker. And if that wasn't enough, she made it crystal clear. Her version of Snow White doesn't need some lovesick royal to come to the rescue. Nope, this modern princess is all about independence, and she's rewriting the fairy tale on her terms.
I mean, you know, the original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her.
Yeah.
Weird. So we didn't do that this time.
As if that wasn't dramatic enough, Zegler took things up a notch with a now-deleted post, boldly firing back at critics. She wrote, "Yes, I am Snow White. No, I am not bleaching my skin for the role." Well, the post may have vanished, but the internet never forgets, because that backlash, oh, it's here to stay. Word on the street is that Disney is struggling to rein in their rebellious star. Insiders say executives bombarded Rachel Zegler with calls, urging her to dial it back. But Rachel doesn't take orders, not even from Disney. When calls failed, top executives flew out for a face-to-face intervention. They told her straight. If Snow White was going to succeed, she had to stick to the PR script. She agreed. No more social media drama, especially on the Middle East. But just when Disney thought they had her in check, Rachel flipped the script. Weeks later, she was back online, this time taking direct shots at Trump voters, saying they would never know peace.
May Trump supporters and Trump voters and Trump himself never know peace. Then she discusses the deep, deep sickness in this country. There is no help, no counsel in any of them. And she also attacked Twitter and Elon and finished it all with Donald Trump.
Meanwhile, things between Zegler and Godot quickly turned tense. While they appeared all smiles during filming, the lead-up to the release was anything but smooth. After awkwardly presenting together at the 2025 Oscars, Zegler seemingly threw a shady comment at Godot, calling her a professional pageant queen in an Instagram reply. Fans and Disney insiders saw it as a dig, especially since the two were already at odds over a heated political issue. Zegler faced backlash for her pro-Palestinian posts, which created major challenges for Godot, who, as an Israeli army veteran, became the target of threats. Things got so bad that Disney had to provide extra security for Godot, with insiders saying Zegler didn't fully grasp the impact of her actions on the film or her co-star. The woke Snow White movie bombed, and Disney fans haven't held back. Many have pointed the finger at her. One online user wrote, "This movie is a disgrace, and the only thing this actress has gained is a much-needed reality check." Another wrote, "It is because of this video of hers, our whole family did not buy a single ticket to Snow White." Another user wrote, "She's so corny and fake." While many fans have blamed Rachel for the movie's failure, some have also blamed Disney. One user wrote, "She holds a ton of the blame here, but we also need to blame and shame those who kept her on the movie instead of replacing her." With Snow White's box office numbers flopping harder than expected, it seems like Disney might be second-guessing its decision to keep her in the spotlight. But here's the thing. Have you ever heard that even bad publicity is still publicity? Well, our Gen Z girl Rachel Zegler sure has. Despite all the drama, some are thinking that the controversy could boost ticket sales. After all, Snow White is a huge brand, and whoever's playing the princess doesn't matter in the long run. And guess what? Zegler herself was one of those optimists. She believed the whole Snow White fiasco was straight out of a fairy tale, and that her star power would somehow save the movie. She was convinced that audiences would flock to theaters just to see her as Snow White.
Have you ever been to that Snow White ride at Disneyland?
I get stopped for photos every time I'm online for the Snow White ride, and it is I have to pretend like, oh God, well, crazy that we're in front of this.
Guys, it's pretty obvious that Zegler is living in a fantasy if she thinks bad press won't affect her movie. She's treating it like some high school drama, where she's the quirky girl unfairly picked on. Sure, she's been dragged, but that negativity didn't help anyone. Thinking people would ignore the drama and just watch her for her acting and singing? Yeah, that's pretty delusional.
It's the most emotional experience that a person can go through to know that what they're working on is something that has reached a generation of people. You know, this is a classic film that established the Disney name, and now I'm a part of that legacy to some degree. It's not something I take lightly, and it's just the most emotional experience to see little girls dress up as Snow White, and I hope that they will for years to come.
Zegler celebrated Snow White being the #1 movie on the weekend box office, despite underwhelming ticket sales. She posted a throwback photo in princess attire with a couple of emojis. While the film beat others like Captain America and Mickey 17, its $250 million budget makes the top spot feel more like a consolation prize. Critics aren't impressed, with many suggesting the original Snow White is a better choice for kids at bedtime. But wait, there's more. Peter Dinklage didn't hold back in 2022 on Marc Maron's podcast. The Game of Thrones star slammed Disney for its hypocrisy, casting a Latina Snow White while still sticking to the story of the Seven Dwarfs. He found the contradiction off and didn't hesitate to call it out.
You're progressive in one way, but you're still making that fucking backward story of seven dwarves living in a cave. What the are you doing, man?
He slammed the studio for pushing progressiveness while sticking to outdated stereotypes of dwarfs living in a cave. Peter's criticism of Disney's selective progressiveness sparked praise from some but backlash from others, claiming it erased roles for actors with dwarfism.
Eliminating 7 potential dream jobs from the dwarf acting community. And that's my issue here is he's saying he wants to move forward and do good for the community.
Disney quickly responded, announcing they were rethinking the Seven Dwarfs, consulting with the dwarfism community. The result? CGI dwarfs. Fans were not impressed. The photorealistic design missed the mark, and instead of capturing the original charm, it felt like a misguided attempt at being woke, canceling roles for marginalized actors in the process.
What they're doing is pretty much you're replacing jobs that people could have as little people. Okay. Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, it's for dwarfs.
So there's been a lot of buzz lately about whether Rachel Zegler and Gal Gadot have finally patched things up after all the drama surrounding Snow White. But get this. Rachel posted on Instagram just before the movie's release in March, calling the whole experience of making Snow White life-changing and shouting out the greatest crew in the world. Very sweet, right? But here's the kicker. Gal was missing from all the photos. This has fans wondering if the tension is still there. With the movie struggling and Rachel's career at a crossroads, could she be the reason everyone's hating on the remake? Drop your thoughts in the comments and make sure to subscribe so you can receive new updates. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.